Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Easy Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, and it's a bit weird, isn't it, doing this on a Saturday? But it was the only way that I could do it this week. I've been away somewhere in the middle of the country, miles away from home, doing some courses for work, and it was unavoidable. It was supposed to be unavoidable that I was not able to make it yesterday, but the course ended quicker because we were all very good at it. And we were able to make it back in time, but I was shattered because it was just days of driving and 2 days solid of fencing. Yeah, have it you. That's not how you fence. I'm actually way better than that. But I passed my qualification. Again, I have to repeat it every year. And it was well worth going. Met lots of lovely people. Did lots of fighting. My legs hurt so much from standing in the on-guard position. But hey, I'm sorry I didn't make it here yesterday. So here I am doing this today because it's important for you guys and myself to have this time carved out of the week to do some hobby stuff. If you are new here to Easy 8, thanks for coming along, and I hope that you find something enjoyable, entertainment out of this show. I hope that it encourages you to paint your miniatures or do whatever hobby stuff. It doesn't actually have to be painting. You can do whatever you want to do, but it's about creating a community, bringing people together, and I hope that you find something worthy and valuable to come along to. If it is your first time, or if you haven't done it before, please do consider subscribing, because it's such a simple gesture from yourself. It means the world to me. It genuinely does. And it helps the community grow, and that, in my eyes, can only be a good thing. If you are working on a project this evening, please do tell me. You can go and tell me, or my dad, who's waiting over there in the live chat. Hi, Dad. How's it going? You can tell me all about it. I'm not expecting anyone else to come along into the live chat today, because it's out of the usual routine. We normally do this on a Friday. But obviously I couldn't make it. So yeah, if you're watching back on the replay, you can drop in chats in the comment section down there. You can join us over at Facebook as well if you want to, which is always very active. People put up pictures of all their stuff, which I would love to see, by the way, so please go and do that. And if you want to kind of get chatting with anybody, you can do it there, down there, or over here if you like. Whichever one suits you. Excuse me, my phone is going crazy. People are going like, "What are you on like now?" I'm like, well, yeah, I am. And I did say last week, I did say I was going to be away, but you know, people can't change their plans all the time, can they? Apparently, I have to. So, hey, maybe you should go and grab some miniatures, join me and my dad, come along and do some painting, because that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 hours. Last week, I was painting these little, really cool, really cute as well, but 15mm train tracks. I'm not a train enthusiast, although trains are kind of cool now I think about it. But these are actually just like landscape terrain for my 15mm World War II war games, and I've been trying to make them look as good and as real as possible. But I've come across some interesting challenges, and I'll go over those as the show goes on. Last week I finally managed to settle down onto how I was going to achieve what I wanted to achieve, what colours I was going to use. And I think that we'd worked out, or I had worked out, how many sleepers I've got to do over all of the different sections that I've got, because this is just one of many. I think it's over 350 sleepers, so that's a part of tonight's challenge, is to see if I can get them done fast and efficiently so that I don't go mental. That's tonight's challenge. Cool. If you are working on something this evening, please do come and let me know, and get chatting, because it's nice to chat to you. Anyway, let's get away from here. Thanks for coming along this Saturday evening. I'm going to crack on over on the bench now. Here we go. So, do you remember last week I was saying that I was going to get some more of this Basilicanum Grey? Well, I went to Games Workshop, and I did, and I did, and I went and bought quite a few of them. I bought two. I bought 2 pots of this because I think that this is going to be, as I mentioned last week, Danny's unifying cocktail or something like that. Because this seems to, if you add water or a medium, as it was suggested to me last week by Kez in the community, if you add a medium to this or water, it's a really good filter, and it works for everything. I've just realised that my autofocus is on. I'm going to leave the autofocus on today, just to see what happens. Dave's joined us. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming along, mate. Wasn't expecting very many people to come along, but the gang is getting back together. Thanks for joining, mate. Anyway, look, steady. It's a Saturday. I don't know what's going on. This stuff just makes a great filter. tones down contrasts, like when you've got like bright white against really dark black. It just softens down the contrast between them. It creates a really nice gritty filter. It makes metal colours look like real metal. It's fantastic stuff. And just for the sake of just watering down a little bit of this and making a filter wash, why not go and do it? So I'm in love with this stuff at the moment. Kind of pop that over there. While I was in Games Workshop, couldn't help resist the temptation of a quick impulse buy. So I bought some more Acrylic Earth because after doing the Gaz build, the October feature I did with John over at Out of This World Models and Minis. Hi John, if you're watching this. This stuff was just really, and I've never really given it that much credit because I've never really used it in as much quantity as I did on that until I did that build. I loved it, and I also picked up the Stirland mud, sorry, which I think is just a darker version of the same technical stuff. I just happen to do a lot in the darker browns than I do in the sort of more tan things. So I just thought I'd just see how I prefer the two, as and when I get to the point where I'm going to use them. That autofocus is starting to drive me bonkers, so I might go and correct that in a minute. But that's what I went and bought the other day. Here is my little section of railway track that I've been working on. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Can I can a little bit. That's as far as I can zoom in on this camera. It's bonkers, I know. So here's the challenge that I've come across. I was sat here looking at this the other day when I got back in from work, just trying to find some inspiration to kind of get back onto it. And you can see that I've painted the first 3 sleepers over here. However, they don't stand out very much, do they? Now the third one does, because what I did is I think I used a different wash over it, but they just don't stand out enough. And I want them to pop. I either want them to be quite, bright contrast against the contrast that's already existing on here, which I think will be difficult, or I want them to be really bold. And I think I've only got a couple of ideas, and this is tonight's little mini challenge. I really want them to stand out. They are a little bit shiny, which I don't think helps. If I did this, where the shine isn't kind of reflecting back into the camera, it's quite noticeable. I'd actually go as far as to say it's more noticeable on the camera than it is in real life, which is a bit of a shame. So if I was to matte them down, it would help reduce that shine, which I think would go a long way to helping with this. If I was to get like a little bit of non-oil and just do a pin line wash all the way around the outside, I think that might separate them from the background of the greys. But that's a lot more work to do if you consider that I've got to paint every single sleeper. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that. Or I hit them with a bright dry brush. Now, I like the colour of the dark ones, and I think that if I get it in the right light, I think they stand out more than the light ones. Dave is saying that they were covered in tar, but it's very hard to replicate that, especially on a 15mm build. Now, I've always said, when you go smaller, lighter is best, right? Jeff is asking, will you be doing a bit of static grass along the edges of the track sections? Yeah, I might do, actually. That might be a nice little touch. Just in like patches or little grassy clumps, that's what I was looking for. You might have to do them lighter just to make them stand out. Yeah, I might have to. And the other solution is I find a nice bright, like this colour, which I think is what I did as the base for the third one here, is to dry brush them, do a combination of the outlining. It's just a lot of extra work. So that is basically today's mission. Now, especially if I'm going to be doing washes, especially with the temperature in this room, it's really hard for things to dry. I wasn't able to acquire the hairdryer tonight, just because I was faffing before the show and I didn't bring it up in time. But using a hairdryer on washes isn't the best thing anyway, because they're really watery, it blows around, so you need them to kind of congeal a little bit before you can use the hairdryer on them. So what I've got is I've still got all these other sections that I was painting last week, if you remember. They still need to be dry brushed a little bit, so I can crack on with other things, various other things this evening. So, main project. I think I would like to do them. I'm going to paint them all in earth, because I think they were all painted in earth now, if I remember. And basically, the two different colours that I've got here is a difference of the washes that I was using over them, either Agrax or maybe even a little bit of sepia. So I'll just try and work out which one I like best. The idea here is just to keep it as swift as I possibly can. But I am very aware that 350 sleepers is a lot of work. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go along one side, then I'm going to go down the other side, and then I'm going to spin it back around again and then go down the middle. The reason I spin it around is so I don't accidentally smudge something on the way, and hopefully I can get this nice and quick. I want it to be nice and quick. I'm just giving it a really good shake. But now that I think about it, let's use the not airbrush version because it's thicker and it coats faster. I do prefer using the airbrush paints even on the brush because they are blended to a consistency that is easier to work with. It just means that I've got to mix better, basically. Just learn to mix better. Of course, I'm not going to just sit here and shake this up. I'm going to put it on the Wazomatic. Yeah, I'm firing the lingo out straight away just because I noticed the staff's not here this evening. Dave says, do a mix of dark and some lighter wood. They're never the same colour. Oh, because wood is never the same colour. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hopefully that just is a variation. It just kind of is captured through staining and dry brushing. Now, this little pot here hasn't been used for a really long time. Waz! Thanks for doing the work. This little pot hasn't been used for a long time, so I'm just going to give it a really good waz. Do you know what I haven't done? I need to include a link on Facebook. If you're not following us on Facebook, you really should. There's a lot of really good stuff that goes up there. Not just from me, but from the community. I need to share a link from John at Outlaws World Models and Minis. He was saying a couple of weeks ago, I think it was actually on the collaboration podcast that we did together, he was saying that he wants to have some googly eyes for his little vortex mixer. So he made a video the other day and went and got some googly eyes and stuck them on his vortex mixer, and he giggles maniacally, and I know it's a real laugh. I know it's not staged. The guy was having probably a bit too much fun with that. It looks hilarious. If Easy 8 ever becomes big, I'll actually make that as a merchandise line, and it should get big, and it'll only get big if you go and subscribe. So please, go subscribe. Cheers then. I spent ages at the end of last week's show sat here talking to Kez on Discord, because we're on Discord as well, the Easy 8 after party, after show. You can come and join me if you want to. I sat there and cleaned all my brushes out meticulously, and I realised that this one here has still got a little bit left to go, but hopefully the brush should work really well. So the reason I've gone to normal paint rather than airbrush paint is because the airbrush paints generally are so watered down that the paint isn't thick enough to bind the bristles of the brush together to keep that fine point. They always kind of like spread out a little bit. Now you still have to water your paint down to make it better to work with, but I can control it much more. So, well, that's what I'm doing. So here we go. So my trick here is basically just to keep it as quick as I can, right? I'm going to try and not paint the metal brackets, the little road spike bits or clips or whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to do those. I could, in preparation for coming over with the darker colours and the rust colours and things. But I think that if I'm working fast, it'll be nice to be able to see it. It'll be easier to see it without the other paint on it. Because it's currently grey, I think it will stand out more. This is already going really fast. I'm sure you can all see that. Yeah. Adrian's joined us. Hi Adrian, thanks for coming along, mate. I didn't expect anybody to be coming along on the Saturday. I thought everyone would be watching it back on the replay. Nice to see some neighbours in the live chat there. Okay, if I can keep it this fast all the way, I think I'll be pretty happy. as I'm working my way along, I realise I'm not being so neat that I don't get a little bit of the gravel on the sides, but it's so small that it's taken me with the eye of a close examiner to notice. So I'm happy with that, really. Just going along and giving them a quick second go over, just to make sure that brown is nice and opaque. What I don't want to do is go all the way down, go all the way down the other side, go all the way down the middle, and then have to do it again. So while I'm sat here now, and that first layer of paint's pretty much setting, just come over and make another pass now. Right, I'm going to do those first 3 again, just because they were testers, right?
Okay, isn't it?
With the turntable help, says Jeff. Maybe. At the moment, I think that I'm not having to keep going backwards and forwards, if that makes sense. It's just it's down here now. I need it to be kind of still. If I was airbrushing and trying to rotate it around, I probably would crack that thing out. Messy on that one, but I know that the washers will knock that back a little bit. I'm still not sure how I created those looks last week. I haven't had a chance to review last week's video because I've been away. You'll be pleased to know my fencing training I did win. I'm unstoppable. I also lost a bit as well. Can't hide the truth. I got called mean. Because we're being trained to be fencing trainers. We were giving feedback, and I called someone out on something, and yeah, I got called mean. That's a bit mean, isn't it? I was being objective, but yeah, I can handle being the mean boy. I'm just going to turn my heater down here because that is very strong beside my head there. I'm getting quite warm now. Got a little oil heater beside me because it's so cold. I always knew when I bought these little rail sections that it was going to be a nightmare painting all the sleepers. I just knew it. But it's good to have something to keep you on your toes, right? I do like painting nice projects, but I like to be challenged a little bit when doing it. I like a problem solve. Okay, we're getting somewhere, right? That doesn't look so bad. Imagine all being a little bit darker than that. Probably standing out a bit more. We're getting somewhere. I think I'm going to grow older before this is finished, though. Okay. Just trying to work out if there's going to be an easier way of doing this. What I don't want to do is have to keep picking it up and moving it around, so I might just do one half of the middle bits here because otherwise I've kind of got to get in there like this, and it's just a little bit awkward. So if I, just for the sake of expediency,
Last week it was alacrity, wasn't it?
yeah, I'm a smart boy. I know words and stuff. Just in the face of being swift, I wonder if this is like a fast way of doing it. Like just trying to minimise unnecessary handling or movements and things. You could argue that this itself is an unnecessary sort of thing to do. Let's give it a go. I've noticed that as they're all drying, the colours are pretty flat. They're not as bright as they were a minute ago. And I'm wondering if that's because they need a second coat and that grey underneath is showing through. Because it will probably do that, right? It'll probably get all, well, will lose its brightness. So on some recent builds, I've been, trying to focus on not being so precious about certain things. About doing such a fine detail that no one's ever going to notice it apart from me. And I'm a terrible perfectionist. I'm not very good at perfecting things, and I look at things too detailed that it will never ever matter. And I'm trying to put that into really good practice right now. But I could sit here and do all the edges of all these sleepers. I could sit here and give them several coats each to make sure that the flatness brought by that grey undercoat doesn't take effect. The list goes on, but I'm just trying to not be bothered by it and problem solve later if there's a need to, Because I've got so many sections to make that I just need to crack on. And I'm sure on the table they'll look really, really good. I hope.
I keep bashing the microphone with my headset. I'm really sorry about that. Clearly it needs repositioning. Because I've already painted it, it's quite hard to see where the sleepers are. The gravel effect is done so well that it looks like there is actual gravel across the sleepers, because railways are quite untidy things, aren't they? Okay, I think we can all agree that was pretty fast. But you see what I mean? That colour doesn't go, here's a big, clear
brown colour. It doesn't stand out enough. And I've just got this awful feeling I'm going to have to do them all twice. I really don't want to do that. Okay, I'm going to let that colour set for a second. It needs to dry. And while that's drying, what I'm going to do is a bit of dry brushing. So, the old man bought me a few brushes the other week. Just really cheap and cheerful ones, so they do the job. Keeps on shedding bristles everywhere. Dave says you can see a difference already. Yeah, I hope so, but you see what I mean? It doesn't stand out. I want it to stand out. I'm sure we'll get there, but it just feels like it's going to be a journey. Some grey. Can't remember what colour grey I was using. This is a problem that I get. I was using Stonewall Grey. There we go. Cool. Problem that I have is that I end up spreading all my paints all over the place and I don't write anything down and haven't had a chance to review this video, so it's not like I could just go back and go, oh, those are the colours that I used, which is what I normally do. Anyway, a quick chance on the Wazomatic, just to give this one a bit of a shake up. I like to turn him upside down and put him on his side on the thing, but you can't see it because the cable's like this long. Well, it's not that long, but it's a really short cable and it doesn't fit under the camera. If I had like a multi-million-pound studio, I'd have my own Wazomatic camera because I'm that kind of a guy. Okay, I'm just going to put a tiny drop of moisture into the bristles of this brush, because dry brushing is actually a misnomer. You should have a little bit of moisture in there. Now I dry brush in a bad way because I don't have a texture palette, so I actually probably going to take all of that moisture out straight away by wiping it on a tissue. I like to wipe it on a bit that I've already painted on so it's kind of less absorbent. I'm just trying to spread that paint through the bristles really. Shed more bristles. Take as much of it off as I can. Something like the tissue on my hand, so I don't get big globs when I put this onto the other piece. So here's one of my double sections. This is one of the things that I really like about this, is it all fits together really well. Here we are. So just gonna nice and quick. If I do one side, you can see now that one side's already brighter than the other. I'm going to constantly use one piece as a reference, because I don't want them to look too dissimilar when I put them together. But I can make them patchy. Patchy is good. Looks about right, doesn't it? I can always go back over some pieces if I wanted to. Be like, oh, this doesn't look as bright as the piece I've just done there. Do something like that, that's fine. Just kind of got this idea now. If I go over the sleepers with this light grey, it might help create a brighter undercoat for the wood colour to go on. That makes sense in my head. Nice. Okay, here's another piece here. Lots of technical stuff on this one to do, but we're not on to rail set just yet. I'm just doing sleepers and gravel at the moment. I'm hoping that the rails are going to be nice and speedy to do. Just going to basically paint them dark brown and then hit them with a nice rust effect. But it should be like line, 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 done, you know. It's just saying, Waz. Don't create more work by saying it needs another coat. That colour works well and you'll be staining and dry brushing. Okay, cool. Let's give it a go. Hopefully, like I was saying, by
sort of dry brushing this grey, if I was to concentrate a little bit more on the sleepers, should make them nice and bright. Should make a nice... Oh, smash everything. Should make a nice bright background for them, if that makes sense. Bring my lights in a bit closer, it's a bit easier to see, right? I need more paint. What I need is a dry palette. I keep calling it a dry palette. Every palette's a dry palette unless it's wet. Stupid thing to say, I know, but it is. Texture palette. That's what I need. I could make one. I do have a 3D printer, and if I was feeling really smart, I could actually design my own texture palette with the Easy 8 logo on it, which would be so cool. But trying to take my logo, turn it into a 3D thing, and then print it is quite a bit of work, and I don't have the 3D software anymore because I was only ever using a trial account because it's really expensive, and I can't use the free stuff very well. I'm just not that good at it. Blender is a very powerful application. It's just phenomenal what it can do. It can even run stuff in hospitals. Like it's an insane piece of software, but the learning curve on it is tremendous, as you might expect. I only need to learn the one aspect of it, which is 3D design, but I just find it very, very difficult, as is often the case with Blender. People find it a very difficult piece of kit to use. So if there's anyone out there who is watching this, maybe from the 3D Gizmo community, hi 3D Gizmo, perhaps you could help me find a decent piece of software. I was using Rhino 3D, and I did all of my early 3D design work on that, and I loved it. It is the best part of £1,000 to buy. So yeah, haven't bought that yet. Maybe I will win the lottery. I won the lottery last night, actually, £7.50, £6.50, but it's not enough, not enough to buy Rhino 3D. So I started using Autodesk 360, which I thought was free, but it was only a free, it was only a free trial, which I didn't realise at the time. That is very similar to Rhino. I had to relearn a few things. It worked well, and then my account expired, and I didn't realise it had done, and I was quite cross with myself for not realising that in the first place. So yeah. Dave says you might find a texture palette at Recon in 2 weeks. I might do. And if you haven't already heard, we're going to Recon in a couple of weeks. That is further up the country from most of us here right now in this room, because we're all deep southerners. But if you are near Bradford or Leeds, or just in the north of England and don't mind travelling a little bit, it's a really good show to go to because it's being run by the Pit Gaming Shop crew. Hi, Pit Gaming Shop crew. Matt is a very ambitious leader of the team and is basically going around to shows all over the country every week. 52 weeks in a year, and they're doing over 70 shows in a year. It tells you how many they're doing, right? It's how much work they're putting in. It's crazy. And they've also decided to actually take over the running of the Recon show, which is on the 2nd of December. It's only on for one day, and I think it was being run by some local people, and for whatever reason they are not able to continue this task, and rather let a show die, which is sad for everybody involved. Matt and his team have decided to pick up the legwork, which I think is incredibly noble. Matt invited me out to be a part of the show, where I'd have like a little table. I've told you all this before, but just in case you're new, you know, and we're going to be there, man. it's going to be great. We're going to be running some games, so me and some of the Easy 8 community are going to be there. I'll be there doing a little show, just going to paint some bits and pieces while I'm there, because that's what I do. And you are totally welcome and encouraged to come along, so please do, because it'll be great. Support the community, right? Put that little bit of rubbish away. There we go. I'm going to leave these ones for a minute because I've still got a couple left to dry brush. I'll pop that over there because they should have dried by now. Here we go. So, let's do some more painting. What am I doing? How does it go again? So I've got that earth colour on there. Now, I
don't remember what colours I used. I think if I use Seraphim Sepia, it's a brighter, warmer colour, but it's darker than that. Excuse me. Recently had my dinner. If I use this colour on them, it should make them vibrant, but still act like a nice little wash. I was using Agrax on them, it was making them darker. I thought dark was the way. Like we're saying, that sleepers are normally covered in tar, they're normally almost jet black, aren't they? Let's face it, but I need them to really stand out. So let's give this a go. I'm just going to do one for a second, see how it goes. Because it might be totally the wrong colour. I don't know if it's got the nuts for it. Maybe it has. Maybe I'm just going to need to sort of dab it on. Brushing it on seems to make it go on so thin. It doesn't seem to do anything. But if I sort of dab and drop, that seems to be doing something. Okay. Problem is the detail on these is so small that the surface tension of this wash doesn't seem to want to allow it to fall into those details. It's basically like wood grain on there. I was just going to do one. I thought I'd do a couple. What do we think? Or should I go darker? Should I go darker? What do you guys think? Oh, it just says it's good. Okay, cool. You see what I mean though? Like the definition isn't... The camera's really showing it up. It's making it look a lot better than what it actually is. Try darker and compare the two. Okay. Let's do that. What I'll do is I'll do a couple of darker ones here, so if I have to repaint them, I don't have to repaint them all, because that would just be a painful adventure. Okay. See, I think darker is better, and then dry brush them. Depends on where in the world you intend the tracks to be from. Yeah, at this scale, I don't think it really matters. And also, I suppose I want my games to be fairly interchangeable, which is what all my terrain really is a good point. But at this scale, if I was doing 28mm, then I would probably really consider that. I think darker is better because I think it's showing off the details more, and if I dry brush them all, I think I'll be able to pick those details out a bit more. That's my opinion. I think I prefer the darker ones.
What do you guys think? Also seem to have a lot more control over this darker wash than I do with the sepia. For generic, the darker ones seem to work best. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Glad I did all those ones in the lighter tones now. Wow, whatever. I'll give them a light dry brush as well and see what happens, but of course I do have to wait for this wash to dry. Alright, do you know what I'm going to do? Like I said earlier, I don't want to be spending all my time faffing with this particular one now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint them all in the darker tone. And to be honest, like I say, it handles better than the sepia. So I'm also keen for something that just works well as well. Got to be faster than this though, that's for sure, right? How's that standing out? The light shining off of it kind of gives it a bit of a false impression, but bring it in nice and close. Will it autofocus? Actually, it looks a little bit rubbish on the camera now. In real life, it looks better. Top of the rails will show up better with the darker sleepers. That's a really good point, you know. I hadn't actually thought about that. So I'm going to do them all like dark brown, like really dark brown. And then I'm going to hit them with some patchy rust bits along the edges. Because that will look quite nice. But I don't think I'm going to do that too much because I don't want it to have too much attention. I just kind of want it to be a bit of a, you know, a humble thing. A moderate thing is probably what I was better to say. But what I will do is I'll hit the tops of the rails with a nice silver. Because obviously, you know, they'll be polished, won't they, by the constant contact of trains going over them. I've got 3 different types of silver to use. Whichever one, at the moment, I don't know which to use. They'll all be done by hand, not by airbrush, obviously. So it'll be quite easy to go over them and work out which one it is that I want to use. Jeff says, also remember the 3-foot rule. Yep. That's kind of what I've got in mind throughout the whole thing. I want it all to stand out from 3 foot. Now, I don't necessarily want the tiniest details to stand out from 3 foot, but I want you to be able to, from 3 foot or further, be able to see the wood of the sleepers against the grey. The grey's worked really well, but at the moment, because it's so busy, it seems to be taking all the limelight at the moment. That's fine. It's a challenge. I know that when I get there, it will look good. Like Adrian says, darker seems to be, better for generics. Lots of different things, what location it is, how old they might be, is it a brand new railway, is it used a lot, I suppose. This scale, it just doesn't matter. I sure as heck don't put, that level of attention or detail into my 15mm tanks. So if I was doing it on this, I'd need to go back and revisit some of my tanks, and frankly, that's a thing that scares me. So yeah, not going to do that. Adrian says, for a reference to rusty tracks, pop to Torrington Station, Billyford Station, or for tracks in constant use, Barnstable Station. Yes, very near me. There's lots of abandoned railway sections and things, museum pieces and whatnot. But again, at this scale, it's a different thing. Took me a while to learn that. The smaller you go, the brighter things need to be. You're brighter and lighter, shall I say. And you kind of need to get away from realism as like a photorealistic thing. You can make things look realistic by doing things to them, but you're not necessarily going to achieve ultimate realism. As where if you were doing like a 1/35th build, you could spend weeks and weeks just putting in effort on the weathering alone. But that sort of stuff is just lost at this scale. When I first started painting my 15mm tanks, I was doing all sorts of weathering on them, and it took ages to get it anywhere near what I wanted to. And I realised that when I was achieving it was because I was removing a lot of what I put on. Okay. Well, there we go. Let's just go back a little bit. I'm going to go back to the earth tone. And the reason I'm going back to that is so that I can revert back to the original colour without staining over top of another one, because that may affect them. So, just like this. Dark does stand out better, doesn't it? I will dry brush. I hope to do that after the intermission, which isn't very far away right now. It feels sad that I've been doing this for an hour and this is all I've achieved, but a good portion of your project is working out exactly how to do it. There's a recipe, there's a formula, and you have to suss it. And you have to do it on just like one piece, so you're revisiting the same thing over and over again. And the reason you have to do it on one piece is there's no point in doing it over the whole set, because if it's wrong, you've got to do it again. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a normal person and get rid of that wet paint on my hand before it goes onto the model that I'm painting. You doofus. Using hardcore words here at the EZH Studio, doofus. Straight back to 1983. Adrian says, going to check out real life tracks which show how evenly tracks rust, which may actually Sawyer, a bit of work. Save you a bit of work in long run. So I have to read behind that little heart symbol to get it right over the top of the live chat. Does my head in. I wonder if I stretch the screen, does it move it? Does it move it? It moves it, but I lose a lot of the screen. Okay. The screen that I see everything going on has the monitor, so I can see what it is that I'm showing. Got some equalizer stuff going in there and scene setting stuff, and then down the side I've got a copy of the live chat. And that little heart symbol that you see there, if you push it, I just get like a little heart that floats across the screen. But it's right over the top of the live chat. If I stretch how wide the live chat appears, yeah, just like that. Yeah, I get it. I see it. But if I stretch the width of the live chat out, it moves it. So that's frustrating. I know it's you, Dave. Every week, Dave's like, "Did you see the hearts I gave you?" He doesn't talk like that. That was my impression of Dave. It needs work. Okay, gone back to the original colour there. I will do the finest dry brush over the darker sets when they're all dry, to hopefully bring out the edges and the detail in there. And I'll do that dry brush with this original colour because I think it's a nice colour. I don't want to go too bright. I don't want it to look like what Adrian's saying. I don't want them to, look like they're brand new, or I don't want them to represent a geological location that would, typically have brighter sleepers or whatever. Like Dave says earlier on, it needs a lot of work. Thanks. That they're made of, they're soaked in tar. And I've seen sleepers. Like Adrian said, I've got a railway station very, very near where I live, and they're very, very dark. But I need to suspend that sort of reality in this project. So, yeah, there you go. I've got this little brush here. Give them a really good clean out last week because it really needed it. But this will be the brush that I use as a dry brush. I've got a couple of others that might work well for it as well. This one's got quite a flattish looking tip, but if you look carefully, it's quite rounded, and that might help in how I go against the sleepers. And the idea is that I'm just going to very quickly go cha-cha-cha-cha and try and not get the brown on the grey, and I'm just going to count on fortune for that. If that brush isn't very good, I've got something very similar. I've got a very square-ended brush, which I might start with actually, because I know that this brush is a very good brush for normal painting. Oh, I'll see what I feel like. I've got basically loads of brushes, and I'm going to give them a go. Anyway, we're getting close to the point where we would go and have a break, so let's prepare for that. It is super cold here in the studio. I have my little heater on. It gets unbearable on one side of me. There's no happy medium. It's either in the summer it's sweltering hot and I've got to have my feet in a bucket of water, or I'm sitting here waiting for my paints to dry, because that's a great live show, isn't it? Yeah. I really don't want to have to do the thing where I outline them all with black. That's something I really, really don't want to do. So I'm hoping that with a dark wash and a light dry brush, that makes it clearer, because that's ultimately what I want, is clear sleepers. I want my sleepers to look clear. Is that too much to ask for? Is it? Apparently so. Right, while that paint layer there is still slightly wet, foolishly, I'm going to go in and apply the wash straight away. And I know it's a foolish thing to do, but I want them dry for dry brushing after the intermission. I don't want to be flapping around, Also, I've been working on the same project for a couple of weeks with what feels like glacial progress. Thanks for the hearts. I see them. I see them. Glacial progress. and I just don't want glacial progress. I want results, and I want them all of them now. Okay, just going to do the middles of these sleepers. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. It's I don't know what it is. It's the surface tension with this colour. The Seraphim Sepia that I use. I like the colour of it, especially for other projects, and mostly on my Tyranids really. It's a great colour to use, but it seems to be like slightly more waterier. It runs around a little bit, and as it runs around, it loses the impact of its colour, which is obviously not what you want. Well, certainly not for this project anyway. And I was hoping that its warmness would kind of create something. You know, I had this thing in my mind, and then when I put it down, it didn't happen. And that happens a lot in my painting life. There's something that I want to do in my head, and I try to do it, and it never works. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a shame. An interesting fact, I've actually been rethinking my Tyranids. Not the whole colour scheme, but I used to paint them yellow and do a wash of Agrax over them, and then dry brush them slightly yellow. But I moved to doing sepia instead of this very dark wash. And I compared two minis the other day, and I've got to say, I really like the dark wash. It makes them look grittier while still having the kind of, let's call it a comic book or cartoony sort of colour, which is yellow. Makes them very bright and cheerful. But having it with the Seraphim Sepia makes them look too cartoony, you know? And I really preferred it with the darker one. I thought I'd made progress moving away from that, but I think I'm going to go back to it. So, yeah. Right. I'm going to let that dry. Okay, I'm done. I'm done there for a minute. I'm going to let all that dry. I'm going to come back, give it a dry brush, and see where we're at. And I think I've got a recipe to work with at that point. I use the earth brown. I use Agrax Earthshade to wash it. I think I'm going to use the earth brown to give it a dry brush over the top. And that's going to be the sleepers, hopefully. Cross them fingers. In the meantime, I'm going to pop out for a quick 10-minute break. So if you need to go... Oh, what's Adrian saying? Unlike mine, which seemed to go quite dark. Oh, your Tyranids. Yeah, I saw your Tyranids the other day on Facebook. Go and check them out if you haven't already seen Adrian's test products for his Tyranid colour schemes. Looking really good. Looking really cool. Anyway, I'm going to disappear for 10 minutes. So if you need to go refocus your eyes, go stretch your legs, go do that. But whatever you do, go change your paint water. Don't leave it looking like this. See you in 10. Bye.
Welcome back. Hope you had a good break. I went and changed my paint water because I was going to show you how I went and cleaned it. Yeah, good for me, because I don't normally. And then I've used it since, so if I did that, the effect would be lost. Anyway, hope you had a good break. I went and got a cup of tea. I've torn a muscle in my thigh. It is the most painful thing ever. This is all from fencing over the last week. I've been doing the stance so much that it feels like I've been shot in the thigh, and it is excruciating. I've torn muscles loads. I run. I used to run a lot. I've done lots of other sports, whatever. This is incredible, and it's in a spot like this, and it feels like I've been stabbed by a fencing foil. So maybe that happened in my sleep, or maybe I got so tired I don't remember it. But it is hard to walk up and down those stairs. Right outside this door here is a set of stairs that goes under my kitchen. So I was only able to change the paint water and get a cup of tea. Drank a lot over last week in the evenings, chilling out after fencing. Feels nice to sit down and have a cup of tea of the evening and not have an adult juice. So anyway, happy weekend, everybody. Cheers. Tastes of burning. I'll let that cool down a little bit, which won't take long in this studio. So before I went away, I was painting my sleepers. I was washing them all down. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes just to sort of make sure that wash is dried. And in the meantime, I'm going to carry on painting some more sleepers on all the other sections that I've got here. I've made a little mixture of brown. Again, I've added a little bit of medium in there. I've got some airbrush flow improver, little drop of that with a little bit of water. Just seems to help the paint transfer really smoothly. I thought that trying to keep the piece on the table and just kind of paint quickly along was going to be a really fast way of doing it. It doesn't seem to be. So I'm just going to hold it and just deal with that. I was just trying to experiment with different things to make everything faster. It wasn't faster. Anyway, if you're new here, or if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I'd love it if you subscribe, because it would try and make the community bigger and better. And that's what I want. I want to bring people together. So please consider doing that if you haven't already done that. It would make my day. Lost a few subscribers recently. Let's see if we can get back up to 135. 131 at the time of the show. So it'd be nice if we could get to 135. I'd love that. So I don't know, share it at work, go tell a friend, bring your kids along if you want. This should be like a family friendly show. It is a family friendly show. You know, I don't say, you know, horrible words or anything like that. So yeah, bring your kids along and get them painting too. That would be great. Anyway, let's just fly back over to the workbench, shall we? I stared at the camera a bit too long. Then it felt a bit weird. So yeah, I changed my paint water. I cleaned it up when I was mixing the brown, and yeah, I was supposed to like show you what a good boy I was. I cleaned my paint water in the intermission. I can't show you that. The level of detail on these tiny little tracks is incredible, and this is a testament to the quality of Ironclad miniatures. There is a link, along with many others, of places that I love and support, etc., in the comment section, in the description down there. So go and check them out if you haven't already. And I tell you what, John and Samantha, a father and daughter operation, absolutely incredible people. Make wonderful products, and they're just really nice people as well. They definitely deserve your attention if you're looking for some terrain. So go and check them out. I met them down in Exeter. I've seen them there a couple of times now, and they're just really friendly people. And it was really affordable as well. That was the thing. Like, sometimes you see stuff that hasn't got the quality of other things, and it's more expensive than the quality things. This is definitely a case of the opposite. Like this was super affordable and really good quality. So yeah, well done you guys. You make good stuff. And I believe they made it in other scales as well. Dave might be able to tell me here, because Dave bought a load of trenches. All your trenches look amazing, by the way. Can you remember if they did it in other scales? I think they did exactly the same stuff in like 28mm as well, didn't they? My paint water looks like a cup of tea. I will definitely not be getting it confused. This is my tea. This is my paint water. Tea's always to the right of me. Paint water to the left. Stuck in the middle with you. Aw, it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
as I work my way down to this end of this section of track, I have a task for you if you're watching live right now. So this is just to you three. These little bits down here, I kind of understand what they're for. If you look very carefully, there's like a big rod that goes all the way through. So I think these are like caps over the top to kind of keep them in place or protect them. And this is obviously something that allows a shift that makes this other rail in the middle. We know how junctions work, don't they? Where the rails go click, oh, we're going that way, click, oh, we're going that way. Or that way. Anyway, what colour should these top bits be? Because we've obviously got sleepers and stuff. Is this wood? It doesn't have the wood grain effect on it that all the other bits do. Would this be metal? Should I paint it the same colour as the rails when I get there? Or is it wood? Is it like planks laid across the top? I was wondering if someone could find a quick Google search there, see if they can find any images. It doesn't have to be from World War II. It probably just needs to be from, you know, like a steam railway or something. Or just any railway, because it would be the sort of same, wouldn't it? No, it would have to be. I reckon all this sort of stuff is quite old. So steam railway, like an authentic old stretch of railway. If you find pictures of it and tell me what I need to paint that like, that would be great. That'd be super handy. Thanks. Dave is saying there's 20 and 28mm scales as well. I think it's a metal cover. Okay. Should I do it like rusty metal then, should I? I'm going to paint these bits down here. I'm going to paint this wood. Like that. Oops, I whacked my lights. I really need to upgrade everything in my studio. My lights, they're not powerful enough. They have to be quite close to everything. And so does my microphone, so that people can hear me. Because Dave tells me that you can't hear me by being away. It's like, I know. Like I've said, I'm not very good at this stuff, man. Crudely painting in and around everything over here, knowing that I can paint over it later with darker colours. So I'm going to make sure that my wood colour goes in the right places. I should imagine all these bits in here, they're all metal as well, aren't they? I'm actually having to make sure that I paint the edges of some of the sleepers on this section. For whatever reason, the sides on here are more exposed than they were on the previous set. So, a bit more time consuming. But it definitely needs to be done because it will stand out, I can see. Oh, my oil heater's kicking in again. Just turn that off, there we go. Rust and grime for them. Yeah, okay, cool. Jeff says, found quite a few World War II pics. Seems that they were all black and white. Yeah, I wondered if that was going to be the case. A lot of my referencing for sort of scenics, if you like, often being black and white, but that's just the product of the time, isn't it? Can't help that, really. How dare they photograph everything in black and white? Okay, there's one side done. I'm going to go down the other side now. Black and white would be better. Imagine if I did a diorama that was painted like a black and white photo. That would be sick.
This is how detailed the stonework is on this thing. It's so detailed that I think as I'm painting, it feels like the gravel is going to lift away into my paintbrush, so I'm going lighter as to not agitate the stones that I haven't glued on. But it's all one giant piece of resin. Nothing's going to come off on my brush, but it gives me the illusion that it's going to. That's how detailed these things really are. And I know that on the camera that I've got, that you can't really see that so well. It's just crazy detail, isn't it? This is my quiet concentration voice. Apologies for the silence. Some of you must be logging on to hear my calming and soothing tones. Dave says lots of different shades in a black and white photo. Yeah, I think that honestly that diorama would be a great project. If only I didn't have so many projects already to do. Yeah. Okay. Again, quite a lot of exposed edge work here. So what I've done is I've very deliberately just gone along the tops there, and gonna do a second pass just on the edges. How are your projects going this evening? Are you working on something? Tell me all about it. If you're working on something, is it going well this evening? Have you got a little challenge like what I've got on, or are you doing more monotonous work? Or is it a fun project? Is it Jeff? Are you doing more hundreds of meters of bocage that you wish you'd never ever started? Or is what you're doing just delightful and fun and charming? Come and tell me about it. I'd love to actually know. So grateful that I've got some company this evening as well. I genuinely thought, being a Saturday, because everyone's used to the normal programme of a Friday, I didn't think I'd have any viewers, so thanks for coming along. Making sure I haven't missed any edges, because it looks like I've missed a few there. I'm going to go off camera a little bit, go directly underneath the light. Sorry you can't see anything. A few spots there that I just can't see in that level of lighting.
bring my light in a little bit closer. Not that close, maybe. There we go. Okay, there we go. Right, gonna crack on with that middle bit. I've got to get faster at these, but at the same time I don't want to sacrifice a good quality paint job. So there's a happy medium to be found in here, you know. A few tiny air bubbles in some of these sections here, but as I'm painting them, it's filling them up straight away. So no dramas there, really. Jeff says, almost finished the bocage, just blending all the sections with a light earth colour over the top of everything, kind of brings it all together, then just got to add the magnets. Oh, fun. I bet the magnets, while it has the ability to go very wrong very easily, I bet it's actually quite good fun, isn't it? Making everything all kind of stick together in all your sections and stuff. Sure is a break from the painting, I bet, as well. You're painting so much. I mean, I've seen it in front of my face, exactly how much stuff you've got going on over there. It's a lot. Some blocks in here. I don't know if they're going to be wood or not. So I will paint the metal. I need a tiny pointed brush to get into there, that's for sure. Now I did order another Raphael Kalinsky 00. It hasn't come yet, and I ordered it quite a while ago, so I'm going to have to chase that up. The stock was there, I made sure, because I've done that before. When I ordered Gazgol, it was on back order from Games Workshop. It was the Pit Gaming Store that got them to me. Thanks again for that, Matt. Really appreciate that. Don't know where that brush is. The reason why I'm doing the sleepers now and not the rails, obviously, is because I can get in and around the rails, paint over them by accident, just like I have done there, and not really give a monkeys about it. Nice and easy to just kind of get the colours in where I need them to go. This brush used to do me really proud, but it's a synthetic brush and it was tiny and I used it so much I think I've abused it to death now. So it doesn't really have much of a good sort of quality tip to it. It just flays out all over the place. How many magnets possible? 700-ish. Much dollar, yeah, for sure. I say much dollar, that is the pound symbol, I am aware of that, but saying much sterling doesn't really have the same ring to it, does it? Yeah, that's an expensive thing, but you know, there's a lot of people out there who take a lot of pride in their tables, and I'm not saying it because Jeff's my dad, but you know, it's nice to be able to say it about someone. But he does puts a lot of pride and a lot of effort into making really high quality table terrain. So if you want like a nice centerpiece to finish off your table, like a big building, or if you want some landscape or whatever, that's the guy to go to. Got over 40 years of experience now. I'm 42 and he's been doing it since I've been born, if not beforehand, so that should be a testament to the level of experience we're looking at here.
He had a big feature at Salute. Was making something for a customer who actually ran a table in a war game there. It was the Vietnam Embassy from 1960. Can't remember the actual year, but in the 60s. Was it 1964? It was, wasn't it? Was the American Embassy in Vietnam. And some enemy soldiers came to attack it. And they evacuated all the personnel via a helicopter, and there are some famous photos of people lining up to get onto the helicopter as the insurgents were coming in and making a mess of everything. And Gringo 40 made a whole line of miniatures and a game to experience that. And my dad, Jeff, in the live chat there, worked with Colin at Charlie Foxtrot Models, who laser cut the whole building, and my dad made it and kind of made the car park sections and put it all together and made all the walls and painted it all up, and it was a real nice collaboration. And it was, even though I'd seen it in front of my face, to see it on the table at Salute was quite a thing, you know. Quite a team of people that ended up bringing that together in the end, because I understand that there were a load of 3D printed vehicles to go in the car park, and they were all painted up and everything. 1968. Oh, Jeff says he's still poor. Sorry, mate. You wouldn't want to be rich though, would you? You know, you see like people who make it in the lottery or whatever, they end up in the news because they've drank all their millions away, or they've crashed their Ferrari into someone's house or something. You wouldn't want to be rich, would you? Would you? Says the guy who played the lottery last night. I'm going to need more brown paint here. Yes, dirty, filthy rich. Yeah, you know what? We grew up not really knowing money. Always just enough. Just enough. I feel like it was just enough now. I'd like to experience filthy, dirty, rich, please. It's my turn now. Thank you. I have to say that this piece of rail section is much more busy, just because of the junction here. Much more busy than that simple straight section. And while I wanted it to be fast, I'm having to take my time. However, it's not that bad. And I know I can go faster on the other sections, and I've got more of the straights, these bits here, than I have of these bits. I'm aware of it. I've got a double straight, I've got a couple of junction pieces. If I just did a couple of pieces every day after work or something like that, I'm fairly certain I could get through these pretty promptly. I am very interested to see what the dry brushing looks like. While time is knocking on tonight's show, I haven't forgotten about that. I've not just kind of lost myself into this project over here. I just wanted to get this one done, just so that I had some sort of sense of you know, moving on. Don't want to be sat on the same piece of terrain for like 3 weeks, because that would be incredibly depressing. So we'll get straight onto that dry brushing as soon as I've done that. I'm not going anywhere until I've done that, and we can all have a look at what that looks like. Dave says, you can then buy the tank that you want, or two, says Jeff. Yes, I would. I've said this before. If I get rich, or if you crowdfund me, if you get me a tank, I will make a big deal about it. Right, I think all that stuff down there is all metal work, etc. So that's that done. Do you know what? On a bigger piece, all that sort of colour does show up quite nicely, but it still is a little bit hard to see. It's like a picture that, you know, like a comic book picture that hasn't got a black line going around the outside of it. The reason that black line's there is to add definition and contrast it and separate it from the background colours, etc. This brown is also nice. It blends away a little bit with the darker side of the contrast. It's just a lot of contrast, and I need to make it shine a little bit. So, got a piece of tissue here. I've got the brown that I want to use still in the palette from that last project. I'm going to use this white handle brush first, because I think that the slightly rounded head of this brush is going to be a little bit more effective. So I'm just going to get some of that in here. I should have put a drop of moisture in the brush first, so I'm just going to kind of get that in there too. There we go. I'm going to just break the bristles up a little bit, because even though I cleaned it vigorously last week, it seems to just set a bit stiff. There we go, that's better. I want to make sure that the bristles are all nice and supple, and I want to make sure that there's a nice bit of paint in the bristles there. Now I'm hoping that this is light enough. I don't really want to go any lighter than this, because it'll be like a dominant sort of colour on these, and I don't want them to be really, really bright. Right, okay. Make sure I've got no big globs of paint left on the bristles there. I'm going to go straight down one side. Here we go. Let's see how well this goes. Okay, I can already see that it's hitting the gravel. That is a pain. Right, got another idea in my head. Square tip brush. I'm going to do each section individually. It's not working. And what I'm trying to do now is decide whether actually having a little bit of brown dry brushed across the gravel there works. Do you know what I mean? To make it look dirty, what I suppose I could do is do this dry brushing, come back in with the light grey again, and then just dry brush in between them all, just to sort of redefine that grey colour in there. And I know you can't really see it very well on the camera. If I bring it up here, you probably can't see it too clearly. But the that brown really has gone quite heavily onto the grey. Not really noticeable on the camera, but it is definitely there. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do that thing where I go in between all the sections with the grey. I've got no choice. If I want to keep it quicker, I've got to do this, haven't I? So, alright, back to the first brush. I'm going to need some more paint. I've run out already. Okay. Sometimes you just got to suck it up, haven't you? Annoyance, but okay. I accept. Tea. Do you know what's that time? I need it. I need this to work now. You can tell I'm actually a little bit annoyed, can't you? It's coming across in my tone. I need this to work now. Stop being so annoying. Got any other brushes that are just better at dry brushing? I've obviously got the ones that Jeff gave me the other week, but they're far too big for this. I think I just need to do it. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's really annoying. I might actually have to do a brighter brown to make it stand out. Okay, let's do this. Let's make this happen. Let's not talk about it. Let's just do it. Let's add a tiny drop of white into the mix. Got a nice big blob on the side there. I'm just going to add in just a little bit. See what difference it makes. Chiefs and tanks for sale from 18,000 to 50,000. Yeah, okay. Give me a couple. Okay, if I take my time a little bit more, rather than just trying to do the whole track, which I suppose is a bit cheeky, it seems to work a little bit better. I am getting the effect that I kind of want, which is good. There's a better way to do this, you know, and I will find it. I will find it.
Going to switch back to the flat tip brush and see if that works at all. Bit easier to control, to be fair. Alright, I think for now I'll stay with this one. It might just be because it's a slightly smaller headed brush. But yeah, whatever, I'll take whatever advantage I can get. Let's go back to the tiny little brush and just see if that... I don't have to pick every single one out, but it might be the best way to do it. So, literally just going to get a bit of paint on the end of the brush there, and I'm just going to... No, less paint. Yeah, okay, that works. You have to practice getting neater at them, but that works. There's a lot of brown there to clean up. Fortunately, I've only done it on one piece of track, but that's exactly why I've only done it on one piece of track. Okay, that's not too shabby. Right, that's not too shabby. Ever so quickly then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original grey, and I'm just going to see if I can bring the grey back out between those sleepers. Shouldn't be very long at all. Which is good, because I don't have an awful lot of time left, and I want to make sure that I'm being swift. So, back to Stonewall Grey. Yes. Phew. Okay, I'm gonna have to use a micro dry brush. Basically a really crappy quality detail brush. I don't know, a synthetic one that I've abused, and use it for just basically picking out in a sort of dry brush fashion the details on the wood, and just sort of add highlight to them as well. Ever so slightly more time consuming, quite a bit more time consuming, but the only way to really make sure that that the colours are all in the right places. Now I could, there are like liquid mask that I could use for this. It basically works like PVA glue. You know, when you put PVA glue down, it peels away. And when you were a kid, you used to put it on your hand and go, "Oh, my skin's peeling off." We've all done it. It works in a very similar fashion, but could you imagine having to do every single one of these sleepers and peel mask away from every single one through that level of detail? It would, yeah. I might as well just not do it and do this instead, right? I don't have any liquid mask, so I'd have to buy some as well. Always wanted to give it a try, but no thanks, not right now.
sometimes adding a layer of varnish onto something can really make the difference as well. So I wonder if that will have much of an effect. Like once I varnish this, will it hide contrast? Will it enhance it? Who knows? Itchy head. Who else uses their paintbrushes to scratch their head or whatever? I used to sharpen the ends of mine with a pencil sharpener, so I can scratch my head. Now my headset's coming off. Okay, I think I've saved it from the colour issue. Dry brushing, bleeding out all over the place. It was going to happen, wasn't it? Of course it was going to. But yeah, there we go. Still need that brown to pop, but it is better. Maybe it'll work even more when the actual choo-choo rails, well, they just rails, I suppose, yeah. When the train tracks themselves are actually painted, because there's a lot of grey on here. It might be an optical illusion. So, very quickly, before we go anywhere now, if I just get some charred brown, I really like this colour. Just drop a bit into the palette there. Well, I said a little bit, I didn't mean all of it like I just did then. Crazy. That's the wrong brush. Literally 8 paints there. Wash that away. Right. Ever so quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a little bit of charred brown, mostly just across the top. Cat fur in my brush, because what would a show be without a cat? If I just put some charred brown across the top here, just to help hide the rails, because it's the colour on the rails that I'm thinking about here. I love this colour. It's not looking so bad, is it? This is where I have a big pot of dark brown wash. It kind of shades around the edges. Then I always dry brush with a light buff earth colour with a big dry brush. Yeah, I would love to have a recipe like that. But I think on this scale, I think it loses something with that. But yeah, like a unifying colour, either a unifying wash or a unifying dry brush highlight, is definitely a way of blending lots of different pieces together as well. So if you had like 3 different buildings with somewhat uniquely different colorings, a way of kind of blending them all together to make them look like they're part of the same project or tabletop or whatever, that's definitely a way of doing it. That looks a bit smarter, doesn't it? I know I haven't painted the edges or the sides of the rails yet, but that kind of gives you a better perspective of what it looks like. I am going to try the Nuln Oil approach. I am going to do a little bit of black wash around these sleepers. I can't make those sleepers any brighter. It's going to look silly. I'm looking at them now. The colour of them is fine. It's just I think there's a lot of contrast on the gravel, dark to light. There's a lot of contrast on the sleepers, dark to light, and I think it's kind of getting lost in there. They're not a vibrant colour, so they're not going to stand out. It's not like they're, a bright blue or yellow or anything. Got to be careful with small scales. You do. Where is my Nuln Oil? Let me use the newer one, please. What have I done with it? Seriously, what have I done with it? There's my Agrax. There's my... So there it is. Cool. I need to get rid of the old one. I don't use it. I don't like it at all. I don't know why it's still there. Okay, here it is. I'm just going to do like one sleeper. Because if it's awful, I need to be able to recover from it, right? I can definitely tell as well that the brighter highlighted sleepers before painting them was definitely a good idea. Let's do this one here. Too much runaway effect makes it like an oil stain, which isn't a bad thing. Yeah, interesting. Interesting dilemma all around. I will continue with this after the show for a little while, and once I've kind of got somewhere with it, I'll take some photos so that you can see it. The black is working a little bit there, but because the details are so terrainy, so random, so rocky, that the Nuln Oil kind of spills away. It's not like there's a clear line around them like you would expect on a normal piece of detail, perhaps, where it will kind of sit in there, create a pin line, and lift that detail out a bit more. It's not having that same effect. So I'm gonna just practice on this piece. I feel that I need to. Looking at it from a distance, especially without the shine, it works. It definitely works. I just need to do it carefully so it doesn't look like an oil spill. Now, we've spoken about like down the centre of train tracks, it is darker, it's messier, because it's soot, it's oil, it's grease, etc. But less is more on these smaller scales. I can't sit there and go do loads of weathering all over it. It's not going to look right. And also, if you remember, when I was testing out Nuln Oil against the Basilicanum Grey as a unity wash over the whole thing, do you remember that the Nuln Oil didn't have the right look? So if I go too far with the Nuln Oil, I may as well have done that in the first place when it ruined the aesthetic. I've got to be very careful about what I do here. I know I'm overthinking it, but there is going to be this grand
look after the whole, after the whole project is done. Are these sleepers going to stand out and look really nice? Who knows? It might be just this one piece that I'm doing here. It might be the way that the gravel is on this one. I'm comparing these two pieces here, and the sleepers are standing out much more on this one. But that is probably because these have had the wash. So, do you know what I mean? I just don't know how to tackle this problem just yet. What I'm certainly going to do is start painting all the sleepers, because that is something that definitely needs to be done. And then, I can even go around with Nuln Oil after all the rails have all been done. If I think that the sleepers still need boosting, they're still they're blending away a bit too much with the background, I can still do that. I just need to make sure that it works the first time, whatever it is that I do. So yeah, dilemmas afoot, and I'm enjoying the process. I just want to fix it now, though. I just want to make it work. That would be super cool. Anyway, let's move away from here. We're done. Yeah, it's frustrating when you've got something that should be so simple is proving to be a problem, especially when I've got so much stuff over here to do. I don't want the sleepers to be too dark. I want them to be too light. I want to make sure that the rails are separate from the sleepers, and I want to make sure there's enough contrast between all three details: gravel, wood, metal. Yeah, we'll get there. Jeff says, think without the wash. What, you mean like the sleepers without a wash over them? I could do. It would be a shame to lose the wood grain detail that's in them, and of course my my washes are really highlighting that. I know there's a 3 feet rule in there. It is quite noticeable when you put a wash on it. You can see the detail of the wood grain. So I want there to be something there. I think I've got the solution to bringing the wood grain out, which is using this tiny little detail brush as a bit of a dry brush. And it just means that I've got to just take my time on each one. Trying to do a fast dry brush over all of them wasn't working. It's hitting too much of the gravel. I have almost ruined this this other piece here, so I've got to be careful about that. I just got to take my time. It's a long project. It's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, if you've enjoyed what I do, or even if you didn't, subscribe anyway. It makes my life lovely, and more people come along and help me out, and I don't get stuck in a rut so often, maybe, if there was like 1 million people watching the show. But to those of you that came along on this lovely Saturday evening, thank you very much for coming along and keeping company. I didn't think I was going to have any this evening. Please do tell a friend, share word of Easy 8, subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can tell when I go live, because sometimes I change the day or I do a surprise episode. Thumbs up the video, because apparently it affects the algorithm, and that's what we're all competing against, right? Go check out any of the links that are down there in the description to all the people that I follow, that I support, that I think are super cool and they do cool stuff. Go check all those guys out as well, because they need just as much love as I do over here. And if you want to join me after the show at the Easy 8 After Party on Discord, there's a link down there to that as well. I'll be on for a little while I just try to do a couple of other testy bits on here. I'm looking at that Nuln Oil, it's sort of drying now. It looks okay. Things to think about. Anyway, do you know what? Enough about train tracks tonight. Go and get yourself a cup of tea or an adult juice, and I'll see you next week. It's next Friday, and don't forget, put the Recon show in Bradford, between Bradford and Leeds, in a place called Pudsey, on your calendars for the 2nd of December. So I'll be here next week, but not the week after, hitting those heart buttons. Thank you very much. Love you guys too. And I will see you next week, next Friday. Take care now. Bye-bye. I see those heart icons. Keep hitting him. Keep hitting him. Do it.